The year is 2014. The new hybrid era had just begun and Williams had finished third in the championship with 320 points ahead of the likes of Ferrari and McLaren, showing they were truly back in F1 to fight for podiums, potential wins, and hey, if they got things right, maybe championship battles. But then everything just crumbled. From 2015 onwards, they would get less points in each and every season up till 2020, where they would finish a rock bottom 0 points to their name. And to make things worse, they almost went under until they were bought by the Dorilton Group, who thankfully kept using the Williams name. But then something happened.
George Russell. P2.
Come on! Yes!
7. Oh, wow.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel.
Yes! Yes!
My heart's in overdrive and you're behind the steering wheel.
Now back into the present day, Williams sit 5th in the Constructors' Championship with 25 points, their best start to a season in years, in which just the first 5 races you could add up their tally from 2018, 19, 20 and 22 combined, and they would still be 9 points ahead of those full seasons just from what we've already raced in 2025. Williams are back and I am so excited for it. So now first off, we need to talk about one of the biggest things that was happening for Williams coming into this season, and it was getting their hands on race winner, definitely top 10 driver on the grid. Some would have argued in some of those seasons he was at Ferrari, top 5 on the grid, a driver called Carlos Sainz. Now, not everything's been sunshine and rainbows, I will admit, and I think we saw exactly that in the first 3 race weekends. He crashed out in Australia, had terrible pace in the China sprint race and actual race. Japan, again, he wasn't really anywhere compared to Albon, and then in Bahrain, even though his pace was good, he then had a DNF, getting too much damage to the Williams car. But now this grace period has finally ended and it seems he understands what he is working with. As like I mentioned, in Bahrain he came out guns blazing, actually looking like he had good pace for this weekend, and then showed it again in Jeddah where he would finish P8 ahead of his teammate Alex Albon in P9, getting his real legitimate, obviously the DSQs, he got very lucky to get to that P10. First points in Jeddah, very much helping Williams. I mean, they've even mentioned, even when he crashed out in Australia, he was helping the team try to get the strategies right and really did play a big role in getting Albon that P5. So just all in all, he's come into this team. He didn't look amazing the first few race weekends, but he's getting into the groove of things, and wow, we are starting to see Carlos Sainz again. And it generally does feel so crazy because with Carlos Sainz there, with Alex Albon, this genuinely feels like the first driver duo in almost a decade for Williams that is actually competent, because it's always been Alex Albon plus, no offense to people like Sargent or Latifi, George Russell with Latifi, and then again George Russell with Kubica. Now Kubica was a brilliant driver back in the day, but of course a lot of things happened to him which meant he just couldn't go as fast as he used to. So if Williams can keep Sainz heading into the new 2026 regulations, my oh my, if they just get that car right, they've got no issues on the driver's side. And I mean, I still need to talk about the other driver himself, Alex Albon. Now, he still definitely looks like the team leader around Williams, and considering this, like I mentioned, probably is his first true battle between a good teammate at Williams, he has proved himself so well in these first few races. Like I mentioned, standout drive in Australia. In such a chaotic race, he kept composed. If there was any other incidents, he could have got onto the podium. That's how good it was. And statistically, he has beaten Carlos Sainz 4-1 on qualifying pace, 4-1 on race pace, and Albon is on 20 points to Carlos Sainz 5. Domination for this part of the season. And I actually mentioned this about Williams before, actually knowing what the car was like when doing my predictions. that with having the likes of Albon and Carlos Sainz, you have a driver, if you give like the 8th, 7th, 9th fastest car, they could probably bring out enough special moments to get around 20 to 30 points, which I thought would give Williams quite a big edge to any other midfield team, because 20 to 30 points, both of them, that's around 50 to 60 points, which could secure up to P5, P6 in the championship, which would be great for them. However, now seeing what they're working with the car, I think both of them could potentially, by the end of the season, be on around 50 points. And if that happens, we could be seeing Williams on 100 plus points in a Formula 1 season. So from a driver perspective, I just can't believe how well it's gone for them. Carlos Sainz clearly got shown what they're looking at for 2026 and for 2025 and liked what he saw, because he could have gone to Sauber, waited another year for Audi. He could have gone somewhere else, and he stuck with Williams. And that really does show they're building something incredible there. And again, I can't state how important this is for Williams, that they're in a good enough position financially as well to have two good drivers, not a paid driver, and it just really bodes well for things to come for their future. And then you can't talk about Williams and how good they're doing without bringing up the big man who runs the team, James Vowles. What a signing from Mercedes that was. Coming in from 2023, they'd sort of stagnated from their great 2021 performance, obviously where Russell got a podium in that Williams. 2022 and 2023 wasn't that great. But ever since James Vowles has come in, 2024, they took a good move in the right direction. I think if they just had a little bit less crashes, obviously they struggled to get to the end of the season because they had so many crashes, they would have done slightly better. And now in 2025, they've gone even further up. And I just really like the openness they're going for towards the public with how their race weekends go. Exactly what strategy did work out, what happened when Carlos Sainz crashed out, all of this stuff. James Vowles is just very much good at getting this information out and just calling a spade a spade. He'll go, this was our weekend, it was good. This was our weekend, it was bad, sort of thing. And I think that is so important to have as a midfield team trying to push up to that top 4, because you've got to have realistic targets, because let's get real, they're not fighting for podiums, but they know where their target is. If they can just be the best of the rest in the midfield, that is what they need. But also, you can't be too happy just maintaining where you are, which I think we're seeing quite a bit around like the Alpine sort of constructor. They're happy sometimes to just be the best of the rest, F1.5 sort of thing. So that means leadership wise, they're looking brilliant as well. I mean, of course, the car coming into 2026, we'll see how much they get the regulations right. Only time will tell. I mean, they're going to be running a Mercedes power unit, which apparently looks like the best, which could be very good news for them. But for hopefully for 2025, as I don't think Williams are going to be bringing crazy amount of upgrades, I hope they can just stick it out, and if they are focusing on 2026, get it right. But if not, also just keep getting consistent points each weekend, and it will be a great season for them to celebrate on. And then of course you also have some decent backups for Williams. So of course Albon and Sainz dead set as their two big drivers. However, you have the likes of Luke Browning who's coming through, who looks pretty good for Williams, and you've also got Franco Colapinto over at Alpine for now. Potentially he could be driving there soon. However, he's still got his ties back to Williams. So if they do have this issue of a Carlos Sainz, I don't know, if Verstappen or Russell moves teams, as I think those are the two that could potentially move in 2026 if something was going to happen, and an Albon or a Sainz does get grabbed by another team, they've got some decent driver development coming their way. So of course it would be a loss for the team. However, it wouldn't be as big of a loss as sometimes it is if they, you know, had to go back to someone like Sargent or again someone like Latifi, which a lot of the time Williams have had to do in the past. So personally for me, I really enjoy seeing Williams do well at this part of the season. Definitely the team I look to see how well they're doing after McLaren, so it's always nice seeing them do well. We'll see exactly what the rest of the season has to offer for them. I do think hopefully they'll be able to keep P5 in the Constructors. However, that Haas magic, it has been working so far this season, so we'll see if they can keep it up. But if Williams are consistent enough, which they can be, like I said with those two drivers, I don't think that'll be an issue. So I think they're going to get P5 in the Constructors Championship, go into 2026 with high hopes, hopefully being able to squeeze into that top 4. But comment down below, what do you think about Williams' season so far? Did you expect them to be doing this good at the start of the season? How well do you think the rest of the season will go for them, as they might not bring that many upgrades, so they could fall back in the grid? And do you think they'll still be able to hold on to Sainz and Albon for the next few years? Those two drivers are hot prospects on the grid, and I think most teams would like to have them if there was some driver swaps. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I'll be back on your screens on Monday. Take care, everyone.